Said it. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Vermilion Local School District Board of Education regular meeting for September 11th, 2023. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill.
Here.
Mrs. Innes.
Here.
Mrs. Russell.
Here.
Mrs. Stepp.
Here.
Mrs. Stillman.
Here.
All members present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is a legislative report. Crystal?
They actually were on summer recess, so I do not have anything this time. Made my
good.
job easy.
Item 5, student liaison. Anything tonight?
No, I'm going to wait 1 month, let them get their feet wet.
Sounds good. Item 6 is student board members. We don't have them tonight, so we'll move on.
He's a soccer game, yep.
All right. Item 7 is public participation on agenda items. Any questions on agenda items? Okay. Item 8, moving right along, superintendent's report and/or recommendations.
Thank you. I recommend a resolution to amend the 23-24 school calendar for April 8th, 2024 to be a no-school day due to the total eclipse path that's is predicted to occur directly over the Vermilion area.
I'll move.
I'll second. I think that's a good idea. Should be busy that day. Call the roll.
Mr. Habermill.
Yes.
Mrs. Innes.
Yes.
Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp.
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Number 2, I recommend a resolution to approve the procurement of professional design services from Fanning Howie through participation in a contract with the Ohio Schools Council, the purpose for which is to get an estimated cost of renovating Vermilion High School.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Taking a quick look. I didn't look at that attachment. Did we have a,
There's a yes.
is there a cost or a not to exceed number on it?
No, we haven't done any. This is just get permission for them to come in and actually put together the numbers.
Okay.
So there is no cost associated with it right now.
Got it. All right then. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill.
Yes.
Mrs. Innes.
Yes.
Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp.
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Item 9 is the treasurer's report and/or recommendations.
Thank you. Number 1, recommend a resolution for the board to approve the financial report for August fiscal year 2024, and that is attachment B.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, looking at the general fund revenues through the month of August, we received $9 million in general fund revenue compared to $8.8 million at this time last year and $9.3 million in fiscal year 22. The district did not receive Lorain County homestead and rollback tax payment in August like it did last year. As such, the district is on pace to collect slightly more than its historical average revenue. Even though Lorain County didn't pay in August, it'll pay in September here. Looking at food service revenue through the month of August, we received a total of $17,808 in food service compared to $13,431 last year and $1,700 in fiscal year 22. The district does not collect much revenue in July and August due to meals not being served until the end of the month for August. We'll see an increase in revenue starting next month. Moving on to all funds, through the month of August, we've received $9.3 million in all funds compared to $9.1 at this time last year and $9.7 in fiscal year 22. Again, the district's on pace to collect its historical average through the month of August. Looking at the expenditure side for the general fund first, through the month of August, we've expended $5.1 million in the general fund compared to $5 million at this time last year and $4.5 million in fiscal year 22. The district is on pace to spend more than its historical average. Food service-wise, on the expenditure side, through the month of August, we've expended $100,000 compared to $93,705 last year at this time and $96,000 in fiscal year 22. The district has spent slightly more than its historical average through the month of August. Looking at all of our fund expenditures through the month of August, we've expended $5.6 million compared to $5.3 million at this time last year and $4.8 million in fiscal year '22. Again, similar to the general fund, we're on pace to spend slightly more than our historical average. And looking at the cash side of things on the general fund through the month of August, we have a total of $21.2 million in cash compared to $22.7 at this time last year and $22.7 in fiscal year '22. Looking at the food service cash through the month of August, we have a total of $333,000 compared to $311,000 in fiscal year '23 and $88,974 in fiscal year '22. Again, our cash food service is doing very good. Participation rates are up. Up until we start producing more meals and having students buy them, we'll be able to get a better gauge on where our food service cash will be throughout the year. It should trend similar to what it did last year, though. And then looking at all cash through the month of August, we have a total of $25.5 million in cash compared to $28.2 at this time last year and $26.5 in fiscal year '22. We do have 3 negative accounts. An 018 principals fund for the high school, it's negative $582. Our athletic fund is negative almost $52,000. And our ARP ESSER funds, this is where we pay our reading specialists out of, that is negative $14,900. Principals fund should be receiving some revenue through pictures and through our Coca-Cola contract. That should take care of itself. Athletic fund, the budget's about the same. I anticipate the revenue to be about the same as it was last year. At the end of the year, we should be right around that $25,000 to $32,000 subsidy from the general fund. And then the ARP ESSER funds, those are reimbursements. That'll be zero by the end of the year here. Looking on the investment side, through the month of August, we've earned a total of $72,110.87 on interest, compared to $34,592.97 at this time last year. We've made $37,517.90 more this year, or 108.5% more.
Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill,
Yes.
Mrs. Innes,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp,
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0. Number 2, recommend a resolution for the board to approve the following donations: $590 anonymous to the athletic department, $50 anonymous to the VES Principals Fund, Domino's Pizza donation to Sailor Way Middle School, and $20 anonymous donation to the VHS football team.
I'll move.
A second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill,
Yes.
Mrs. Innes,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp,
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0. And number 3, recommend a resolution for the board to approve the First Amendment to the original purchase agreement between Vermilion Local Schools and United Church of Christ Congregational. That's attachment C.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any questions on that? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill,
Yes.
Mrs. Innes,
Abstain.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp,
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 4-0, and 1 abstention. Thank you.
Okay, item 10 is the consent agenda. The superintendent and treasurer recommend that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items. Action by the Board of Education in adoption of the consent agenda means that all items are adopted by one vote unless a member of the board, the treasurer, or the superintendent requests that any such item be removed from the consent agenda and voted on separately. Item 1, the minutes of the August 14, 2023 regular meeting. Item 2, approve the 2023-24 student activity guide. Item 3, approve the consulting agreement between Vermilion Local Schools and Life Out Loud LLC to provide professional services for building and implementing learning activities and tasks to access community resources and relationships to support community-based instruction initiatives at a rate of $55 an hour for student programming. Item 4, resignations. Peter Westrup, Playground Cafeteria Monitor, and Amanda Fasciana, Food Service. Item 5, retirement. Garnet Jean Holbrook, effective December 31st. Item 6, approve the one-year teacher additional duty contracts for the 2023-24 school year as listed on the agenda. Item 7, approve the one-year non-teaching supplemental contracts for the 2023-24 school year as listed on the agenda. Item 8, approve the one-year classified limited contract for the 23-24 school year as listed on the agenda. Item 9, approve the one-year classified substitute contract for the 2023-24 school year as listed on the agenda. Item 10, approve the payment of $100 per day from August 14 through August 17 for the new teacher orientation for those listed on the agenda. Item 11, approve the project rate of $34 an hour, not to exceed 5 hours for the 2023-24 school year for HQSD committee meetings as listed on the agenda. Item 12, approve the special project rate of $34 an hour for 1/2 hour for any VES teacher that is required by the principal to attend a support meeting for their student. Meetings can occur weekly. Are there any items that need to be removed from the agenda? Okay, I'll move to accept as is.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill,
Yes.
Mrs. Innes,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp,
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Item 12, dates and locations of upcoming board meetings. Meetings will be held in the Vermilion High School Commons, 1250 Sanford Street, Vermilion, unless otherwise noted. We have a regular meeting on Monday, October 9th at 6 p.m., regular meeting Monday, November 13 at 6 p.m., and a regular meeting Monday, December 11 at 6 p.m. Item 13 is public participation. We have no one signed up to speak tonight. Item 14 is adjournment into executive session. Recommend a resolution for the board to move into executive session for the compensation of public employees, land purchase consideration, and for matters to be kept confidential.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill,
Yes.
Mrs. Innes,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp,
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0, and the time is 6:12 p.m.
Just dawned on me. Okay, we are out of executive session at 7:40 p.m. Item 15, motion for adjournment.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Habermill.
Yes.
Mrs. Innes,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mrs. Stepp,
Yes.
Mrs. Stillman.
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0, the time is 7:40 p.m.